We've had a lot of cases where we were seeding storms that had no business being seeded. We were just kind of throwing darts, and we were seeing responses to some of those. So we are learning that maybe there's more opportunity with some of these. Maybe we don't even need to have a rain cloud. We could go work cumulocongested clouds that aren't really precipitating yet. And if it has inflow, maybe we could get something to work.
Hello, my name's Al DeChico. I live in Golden Valley, and I understand that this is a federal issue. I understand that from speaking to the governor's office, that they cannot or will not even make a statement about this. My question is, have you tested the rainwater? And if you haven't, have you seen the results of our rainwater tests? And also, are you aware that many of the people sitting in this room right here have very high levels of barium, aluminum, and strontium in their blood? People are getting sick and dying. And we want the ADEQ not just to give us a little speech today, but actually to maybe perhaps speak out against it, if you know what's going on. And if not, I would suggest you do a lot more investigation. We've been doing it for years. So I'd like a comment on, one, the rainwater, what's in it, and two, what's in our blood. And if it's not coming from geoengineering, is it your responsibility to investigate that and tell us where it is coming from? Thank you.
All right, guys, welcome in. Welcome back to Above Ground World News. Here we go. Another night of weather chaos. Now, you really have to sit back and look at these local and mainstream meteorologists. You know, how do they look at themselves in the mirrors when they lie every day? Just like the mainstream media. They get paid to lie to you, to push propaganda, to divide you, while we have, you know, bad stuff going on with the air we breathe. But they won't talk about this stuff. So it takes just a regular person or people out here to show everybody what is really going on, to open everybody's eyes, because we need a lot of people to realize what's going on isn't global warming. It's not climate change. It's climate control. We're going to get into all this. We're looking at this Sahara dust that has been inundating the Gulf of Mexico, and the United States, all the way to Hawaii. Now, this dust has been blowing apart every hurricane that has formed, you know, on the west side of the United States. And this so-called Hurricane Dorian, man, it's not a hurricane. It's something else. And we're going to get into all this, because it defies all atmospheric conditions. And the mainstream is lying about the wind speeds. They're lying about where it's going to hit. They're lying about everything. They should be ashamed. They should actually watch our show. Or, hey, better yet, why don't they give us like a 3-minute segment on the weather channels and all that? Maybe I could give them a history lesson in what's really going on with the weather. But anyway, thanks for joining us, guys. We're going to jump into this. Here, let me shut that down so it isn't taking resources, because we're going to be getting into tons of stuff tonight. We'll get into the weather tracks and all that stuff here. But I was watching this earlier, and they're talking about this storm, and they're saying some of the cirrus clouds we see, we call these outflow. Does anybody know what cirrus clouds are? Let me fire this up from today here. This is going on right now. Cirrus clouds, they're not natural clouds. Cirrus clouds are made by jet aircraft. And we're going to see a mass operation of these cirrus clouds right over Montana. Here they come. See all the long X's and tic-tac-toe boards going across the sky? These are cirrus clouds. Now, we know they were spraying inside this so-called hurricane, but this is going on right now over Oregon, Idaho, Wyoming, down into the North Dakotas, throughout the Midwest. I mean, we'll get into this whole map here in a little bit. Let me go ahead and get it back on the full version. Now, some people are going to find this information disturbing. It's going to open your eyes to things you didn't think they would be doing. But all this stuff is definitely going on. We're going to get into some information that the mainstream would never tell you. Well, right where we just seen the aerosols being deployed, what we have found is fires seem to start. Now, nanoparticulates like alumini are very conductive. And we see this going on. So we have fires going on right after the particulates were sprayed. It's like an accelerant. Now you get all these mainstream, big stream news. Hurricane Dorian strengthens and shifts, now expected to hit the Georgia and the Carolinas. See, they're going to scare the next two states. You know, I'm going to tell you right now, they have no clue where this thing is going. And what I can tell you is they're lying about the wind speeds, and we're going to prove it again tonight. They're completely lying. You got this one here, Hurricane Dorian track still off Florida coast, tropical storm watch issued. But they're going as far as saying the Hurricane Center has already measured 185-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Look, ladies and gentlemen, these winds are not at the surface. And we'll prove it to you by the planes that fly in the clouds, by their instruments and their altitudes. It's a complete fake story. Not that the storm's fake, the storm is real. But the way they're explaining it and trying to cover their tracks is fake. So here's something good to know if you're in Florida. A reminder to Florida residents, you don't have to have a permit to carry a concealed gun when mandatory evacuations are in effect. So, hey, armor up. Just thought that might be some good info for you guys out there. You know how the FEMA likes to come in and take guns. Now, I've seen this on the Facebook. I just had to show this. Check this out. This is in a store. This is how they are targeting the kids. My first prescription candy pills include side effects, just like mommy. Addictive flavor. Look at this crap, man. This is how they're trying to indoctrinate the kids. You know, they're already brainwashing them in the schools, pushing their gender stuff and all that stuff. That's definitely going to get me flagged just for saying that word. But yeah, the kids are the targets. You know, all of us people over 45, 50, it's too late for us. So we're the ones that are going to fight this battle. And if you didn't know, PFAS toxins found in the drinking water throughout Southern California, just updated today. Wells in nearly 24 Southern California water agencies have reported reportable levels of PFAS, a chemical family increasingly linked to cancer, liver and kidney damage, thyroid disease, high cholesterol, low fertility, low birth weight, and ulcerative colitis. 7 of those agencies have shut down the wells in the past year because of the presence of those chemicals. More plans to close. You know, it's bad enough they have the nuclear stations right there on the ocean leaking. Fukushima still raining down. We also have this, the back-to-school mutant super lice found in 42 states. It's back-to-school time when children will reunite with old friends and make new ones. This started back in like 2016, the super lice outbreak, but now it's back. You know, with today's technology and they do all this stuff, how's this stuff just keep coming and it gets worse? that we have this proposed standard threatens to undermine the climate agreements, entrenched geoengineering. Who is behind the backroom push to undermine climate standards? They've revealed a new effort to establish the basis for a market for climate credits. And we've been talking about this for years. For the use of geoengineering technologies, civil society groups are denouncing the closed-door negotiations at the International Standard Organization that could undermine efforts to curb climate change. You know, we've been talking about how they want to monetize all the water on the planet, including the rivers of the sky. There's tons of companies out here that are actually hijacking the rivers of the sky. In fact, I'm going to show you a couple here in just a minute. We'll get back into this article here, or maybe we'll just go ahead and keep on going here. So there was something that the mainstream didn't tell you about the winds for this so-called hurricane. I mean, I can't even call it a hurricane. It's a weapon. And hopefully by the end of this broadcast, you'll see that it is a weapon. So the meteorologists that fly, the hurricane hunters that fly into the storms, there was something wrong with the plane. It got a cracked windshield. They had to turn around and go get a backup plane. Well, they didn't get to get all the wind readings. And there was just had to be one meteorologist that come out and spoke about this. I want to thank Jill for sending this to me. This morning's model data continues to be promising, keeping Dorian off our coastline, but the storm's forward speed is everything. It seems as if Dorian is a little faster than the model guidance suggested, thus changing the dynamics for forecasting yet again. This isn't over yet. If you think about it, our saving grace has been it's slowing down, but it's not as slow as we thought. That could be the difference between it staying off the coast and riding the coast. Now this is very concerning. The forecast is for the storm. Wait a minute, let me get up to where I don't need to read all this stuff here. Okay, the cone is still wide enough that it could happen offshore, right along the coast, or even slam inland. The model data is looking more promising this morning, but it's missing something. Yeah, last night the NOAA high altitude surveillance jet was supposed to survey the atmosphere around the storm and drop the data into the models. Guess what? It didn't. Another recon flight had a cracked windshield, and the jet had to do low-level recon. That meant no upper air data. That means the models didn't have all the data they should have. That means they don't have the whole story. Did anybody hear that on the Weather Channel or on your local news? They didn't tell you anything. So at least this guy at least come forward with the information that the plane was damaged and they didn't have all the readings. Now, I talked about a couple of videos ago how I was doing a job, and I found out he didn't work for DARPA, but he was a private contractor. Hey, thanks out there, Super Chat. I didn't see the name. Oh, hey, thanks out to High Impact Fix Brian over there, and also shout out to Carol at Never Lose Truth for sending some new people over this way. Hopefully we're going to give you some eye-opening information. Well, anyway, I had to go back to the job. The contractor for DARPA, they've been mapping every crevice, every cave in Missouri. Now we're getting more of this going on everywhere. So DARPA freaks people out with urgent requests for underground complex. Now when I went back to talk to this guy, you know, I knew, I was like, hey man, I know where quite a few caves are in my neighborhood. I didn't tell him where I live, but man, he was interested. Like, they want to find out where every crack and crevice is, and he does laser mapping. That's kind of like my job. I do laser templates. But yeah, I'm going to try to infiltrate and maybe meet up with this guy somewhere and see what they're doing. So we're going to have to go undercover. Now let's go ahead and get into some other stuff here. Let me go ahead and get, where do I want to go here? Okay, I guess we'll start right here. All right, so this so-called hurricane, man, that defies all the atmospheric conditions, like the water temperatures. You know, it's going through the coldest part of the ocean. I know the mainstream is showing you the water's hot. It's real hot next to the shore. But I'll show you in the models here in a little bit. But they're lying. It's defying the wind shear. It's defying the cold temperatures that are coming crashing down, even though the cold air is much heavier than the hot air, which will blow it away. Hey, thanks up there, Kathleen. But the other thing that it's doing is it's only getting hotter through the night. It's growing at night. It's not I don't know why this thing is freaking out right now. It's not running smooth. I may have to reload this, because what it's going to show you is these storms are growing at night. They're not growing from the heat of the sun during the day. You know how most storms work. The heat of the sun heats everything up, and then the storms fire up. Nah, this one's going backwards. And there's another issue with the storm beside the so-called cirrus clouds, the chemtrails around the hurricane. It has a perfect circle, a perfect round little circle. Let me tell you, nature does not make perfect circles. Nature does not make 90-degree clouds or straight lines. This is a weapon, and hopefully I can prove this tonight, just like we have been. This thing is not your normal hurricane. It's not near big enough to be a Category 4. Man, I can't believe this thing is freaking out. Let me try to reload this, because it shows how the storm only grows at night. So whatever they're using, which I'm pretty sure it's a satellite-based laser system. I mean, it could be the Arecibo ionospheric heater just right there in Puerto Rico, where the storm slingshotted right around the ionospheric heater. You know, we've had it looked like Wi-Fi rays coming off the storm. So that's going to probably take a little bit to load. Now, I'm talking about this electromagnetic rainmaking. I'm talking, this is a big business. Now, here's just one of the companies out of the UAE that uses this kind of technology. You know, this is the people that want to hijack the rivers of the sky. I wonder if I have that up so I can show you what I'm talking about here. Hang on, let me see if I got it. Here is the rivers of the sky. This is like, we have the rivers on the ground. Well, these are the rivers up in the troposphere. And we document these. We've been documenting these maps for 6-7 years. And we see all kinds of anomalies that happen. We can see when they're pulling and dragging these atmospheric rivers in opposite directions, when they're making 90-degree turns. You know, we've had a bunch of experiences down here in Australia where the company Miles Research was putting the fires out using this electromagnetic technology, and we watched the signatures of this water. We watched the signatures of the clouds, so we know how to detect when things are not right. And right now, things are not right here. You can see the atmospheric river should be a solid flow, a wispy flow, and it's not. Look, it's like they cut a hunk out and shifted it up to the north. It's never done that before. Plus you have all the Sahara, just more things that don't add up with this storm. It's just going to tell you that it's completely manufactured. But let me jump back into here. I know I'm jumping all around, but sometimes it's how I roll. Anyway, this Climate Global Trading Company, they want to hijack the rivers of the sky, all the water, and then they want to sell it to you by the barrel with by cryptocurrency. It's called the Climate Cron. Now check this out. You can get seawater desalination technology, 1 cubic meter, $50. Cloud seeding technology, 1 cubic meter, $10. See, they don't, these people that use the electromagnetics, they don't like the chemtrails. See, they even say chemical elements harmful to the environment and human health. But hey, buy our technology. Let us do your rainmaking, and everything will be okay. Hey, thanks out there, Kathleen. Much love out there. You know, we've watched them do, just here, a few months back, they did a weather event over Iran. Next thing you know, 90% of Iran was underwater. They want to flood the desert. They want to turn the desert green. And they've been doing a pretty good job of it. And this is just one of the companies of many, many, many. But yeah, we documented their technologies that they used over Iran. And then you also, I don't have it on here, but yeah, you could dig in here. I'll post this link into the description here in the chat. There you go. Bookmark that link and check it out. Read about the Climate Cron. Read about all the things that they have done with the weather. And then, of course, you have the Miles Research Company down in Australia. We watched him put the fires out in Australia just a couple months back using electromagnetic. In fact, we got a clip. Check out this clip. This is actually on a mainstream clip. So check this out. Let me mute my mic for a second.
Chemicals fired through rockets like other technologies use. We use a very gentle but powerful technology, launching electromagnetics into the atmosphere to modify the flow of the weather system over the ocean and drawing it into a target. So to try and keep it simple, we establish some kind of link with a weather system, and once we've seen through satellite meteorology that we have that link, we're able to draw that system in incrementally towards the target, such as in this case the Horn of Africa.
Mahendra, you call this project the Global Rain Project. Why the Global Rain Project?
Well, let me just step back. Ever since the beginning of civilization, mankind has diverted rivers on Earth to wherever we wanted to practice agriculture. Now we look at the atmosphere. The oceanic, 90% of the rain, more than 90% of the rain falls on the ocean.
True.
It's only about less than 5% on Earth. So the 90% that is above the oceans, these are fundamentally atmospheric rivers. And just the way we harvested rivers on Earth, we should be harvesting now with new technology the rivers above the oceans and moving them to a target area. Now, why is it global? Global because climate is changing. We see the floods that are on, the droughts that are on. So weather is being modified by human activities and by natural phenomena. And today we have developed the technology, and I'm convinced that in 30 years we will be able to confront climate change with technology with which we can modify weather patterns. It's weather modification, because climate change has two elements. It gets hotter temperature and the precipitation changes. So moisture patterns change. Now imagine when we get rain, temperature goes down. So when you think of climate change, which is hotter areas, and that's the challenge we have in sub-Saharan Africa, that it will get hotter. Many areas that produce crops will not be viable. So it is a global phenomena which requires global action, and that is why we are committed to put this in the humanitarian arena to begin.
I couldn't get the mic to unmute. So anyway, guys, and that's not all. We're over here at weathermodificationhistory.com. Here's a timeline of all the newspaper articles from starting back in the 1890s about weather control. Look at this right here. Wireless production of rain, artificial rain, hail suppression. These are all the mainstream articles when the mainstream actually reported on real stuff, you know, when they actually did journalism. So this has been going on since the 1800s. I mean, this is just crazy stuff. People don't know about this stuff. The mainstream never talks about this. They would never guide you to all this information. Rain of death experiments. Wow. Planes to be used for rainmaking. When was this article? July 24th, 1947. Planes to be used for rainmaking in Melbourne. Revealed last night that a plane equipped for rainmaking experiments would arrive at Point Cook Air Force Station in the next few days. A plane which is fitted to spray special secret fluid into the clouds to cause rain. Pretty mind-blowing, huh? So if they were doing this all the way back in the 1800s, I mean, they were shooting explosives up into the sky. They were doing some crazy stuff. So to think that they're not doing it now, to think they don't have the technology, just look how fast we come from the landline phone. Now look at us now with these cell phones, the microwaves in our hands. Hard to digest this sometimes, but this is the real weather news right here. Here we go. July 26, 1894, a successful rainmaker. How Clayton R. Jewell coaxes moistures from cloudless skies. That's right. 1800s. So you can come over and check this site out here. I'll copy this and I'll paste it into the chat. And when you get time, come over and prepare to have your mind blown. I mean, this is information that, you know, you got to thank Jim Lee for putting this together, and the other guy, can't remember his name offhand, but they spent tons of time digging all this stuff up. And this is like the ultimate weather modification history site on the planet. All right. So let me see here. I think that's all I have on that kind of stuff. Oh no, I moved it. Man, this thing is so touchy. I am going to have to reload this one more time. Holy moly. Maybe it'll load fast this time, but I'm really wanting to show you this because this is going to show you how these storms are only growing in the dark. It's going to show you how perfect and precise this eye wall is. Not to mention that this hurricane is much smaller than it should be for a Category 4 hurricane. None of it makes sense. So we're going to give that a second to load. Here we are looking at the new track. And last night's show, we showed all the rain was going to be offshore, maybe just a little bit around the shore. Now there's other tracks still, but the thing is, hey, thanks sir. The thing is, we can't trust any of this stuff because it's not a actual hurricane. It's not a natural hurricane. And if you didn't know, back in 2008, the Department of Defense started going to hurricane workshops. They wanted to learn how to steer the hurricanes. Well, not only can they steer them, they can create them. They can create them even when the atmospheric conditions do not favor one. I mean, we're seeing it. We're seeing it right here, right now, just like Hurricane Michael. That was a completely manufactured weather machine. And when I was reporting on that, it had the same signature, the perfect round eye. It developed out of nowhere. It was a wind weapon. You know, I think the cold air is pushing this off. We showed that last night. The cold air is much heavier. It should push this thing off. I'm not even sure if it's even going to hit any shore. But I mean, we'll know more by tomorrow. Like it's just, even the meteorologists are baffled on the storm. I mean, they're making crap up by the day. So let's go ahead. I mean, when you look at even these projections here, look how little that hurricane is, and look how perfectly round it is. It doesn't have the normal signature, you know, like the semicolon or the, you know, it kind of does, but not really. It's not a normal hurricane whatsoever. Like I showed the dust in the beginning. There's so much Sahara dust. And you do remember the weather people telling you, hey, the dust, nothing's going to develop because of all the dust. I mean, this thing is just like a pinpoint. Like I've never seen one so round, so small. Look at that. I mean, the bars are so perfectly round. Look, we have a natural hurricane coming there. Look, there's a natural hurricane. It's pretty small too, but it's going to get blown apart by the dust. Just like the last 3 hurricanes out here. It's just going to get smoked. No way it's going to make it anywhere. There's just too much particulate matter in the air. You know, what happened to the Bermuda high pressure over here? Well, they moved it out of the way. They were really wanting this storm to go right over southern Florida. That was plan A. So now they're into plan B. Let's go ahead and check the target of the rain. This is going to give us the full picture of the target zone. So we're just going to move this all the way up here. Yes, like even the mainstream media, you know, this storm is actually going to the path of our 16-day forecast 2 weeks ago. Isn't that pretty crazy? See, all the weather plan is developed by Raytheon. Raytheon has come up with all these programs. They are the ones that are giving out the plans for the weather. And then it goes to the, you know, like the cloud seeding operations over Texas and over the United States. That's all ran by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I showed that clip right in the beginning. That was the 2019 June, I think it was June 6, 2019. That was the Texas License Bureau Committee meeting on weather engineering and licensing. You know, if you didn't know, you can go right to the Texas License Bureau. Let's go there. Texas TDLR, I think. Okay, there it is. And then I got another link I could show you. But yeah, if you look in the description, I should have links to that committee meeting, or I have the video. I cut the video down from like 2 hours down to about an hour. So here we are at the tdlr.texas.gov. If you go up here to the license types and then just go all the way down to the very last one, weather modification. You can come get your own weather modification license. Here you go. April 17, 2018. Reporter News, West Texas counties planning a seed for rain. They're going to spray with drones. New rules, new regulations. So, yeah, it's all going on, man. People want to call us conspiracy theorists when we have all the proof, all the scientific samples from the rainwater, the groundwater, and then here they are. I mean, they're emitting and doing it on a daily basis. There's also a North American weather modification operation. We go over these companies all the time. I just see a lot of new people out there. So I wanted to just kind of go over there. Let's go see if any of these buoys are jiving with the wave heights and the wind speeds and all that stuff. Let's go ahead. That's about the closest one. You know, it's funny how they turn off the data buoys where we need them the most. You know, there's just more lies. Hey, thanks out there, Super Chat. So right now, in the Bahamas, 15.9, gusting to 19 knots. You know, what is that, like 30-mile-an-hour winds or something? Atmospheric pressure, 29.3. Air temperatures, 84.4. All right, this isn't going to help us right now. Let's go ahead. Let's go jump into the, make sure we're on now. Let's check the wind speeds of this so-called Category 4. So it looks like, let me turn the winds off so we can see the red. So right there, we're looking at 82-mile-an-hour winds. That's a Category 1. 86-mile-an-hour winds at the surface. 64-mile-an-hour winds on the bottom side. 69. 74-mile-an-hour winds. So this is a Category 1, but they're calling it a Category 4. So if we go up to it, this is the surface winds. Let's go up 1,000 HPAs. You know, 1,000 is pretty much around 364 feet up in the air. So that's 70-mile-an-hour winds, 76-mile-an-hour winds, 81. Still in a Category 1. Let's go on up to 850. This is 1,500 meters up, roughly. Around 4,700 feet up. 92, 102, 92. Here's some purple in there. 96, 87, 91. 91, so, 101. So now we're starting to get up a little bit. But we're 4,000 feet up in the air. Let's go up a little higher. Let's go up to about 9,800 feet up. 91, 83, 82. And these models are pretty damn accurate. I know the Venture Sky and all them other windy, all them are flawed. These are the real. And we're going to back this up with the Hurricane Hunters plane information, because we're going to look at the altitude of where they took the wind readings. So we're not seeing any kind of 150-mile-an-hour winds. You know, they're saying the storm is 150-mile-an-hour winds. Where the hell are they? Where's the 150-mile-an-hour winds? They're nowhere to be found. Let's check up here in the jet stream. Do we have 150? No, we have 57, 58. Let's go up above the jet stream. No winds. Huh, makes you wonder what is going on here. How about the, while we're here, let's go ahead and check the temperatures of the ocean. So we're going to zoom in here. Let me take the wind off again. You know, they're saying it's in this super hot water. The super hot water is right over here, the purples. It's actually really hot in the Gulf of Mexico. But it's actually going right through the coolest spot. Let's put on the sea surface temperature anomalies. See, it's in the dark. The dark blues is the cooler water. Now, when it gets over here, if it gets over here to Bermuda, it's going to be hitting some fairly hot stuff, but nothing like this massive heat anomaly that's been going on up here in Alaska and off the west coast for quite a while now. So there's another atmospheric condition that's not conducive to a Category 5 hurricane. It's all lies. How about the wave heights? So let's look. We're looking at 28-foot seas. 29. Let's fast forward this up to see if it gets any bigger. So as it's hitting Bermuda, we're looking at around 30-foot waves. Take it up another notch here. 30. Ah, there we go again with the numbers. 33.3. You can't make that up. That's just crazy how that keeps coming up. Now look at this. It's starting to pick up 40-foot waves. Now we're starting to get somewhere. That's where the hot water is. 36-foot waves. See, there's no way. This thing is a category 5. Right now, they're completely lying. So let's go ahead and see if we can get to them. Ah, it's still not loaded. Oh, there we go. Okay, check this out. And it's still messing up. My gosh. So what I wanted to show you, if this thing would have ran like it's supposed to, you're going to see this thing intensify at night. You're going to see it's a super small hurricane, and it's got a perfect eye wall. There's no such thing as a perfect eye wall. And then you're going to see all the aircraft cirrus clouds all around it. And, you know, a lot of people that's been with us for a long time, you know, I don't even need radar to tell you where the storms are going. We look at the aerosols that are being deployed. They follow the aerosols, every single storm. And that's why we're so much more accurate than the mainstream media. That's why we can forecast out, you know, 2 weeks in advance. Because we factor in the weather modification that's going on. They don't. They won't talk about it. They have a gag. All right, so where was I going now? Oh, we wanted to check. We want to go check the data on the planes. Okay, I know where to go. Aircraft recon. Mission 2 DORIAN. Let's see what we got here. So, at 850, roughly 1,506 meters up the height, we have 42 knots. That's not 150 miles an hour. Huh. How about 1,000 millibars? 41 knots. At the surface, the winds are only at 36 knots. What's 36 knots? Let me see this. I got to do a conversion. 36 knots in mile per hour. So, oh wow, I didn't type it. Oh wow, I didn't even spell it right. How could I not spell KT right? All right. So that's 41 miles an hour. So the aircraft that's been deployed, that is dropping the digisons, getting the data from this hurricane, is showing 36 knots at the surface, which is 41 miles an hour. You tell me who's lying. Is it all the is their equipment defective? So here we got the average 10-second flight level wind speed in the knots. Peak 10-second wind, 50 knots at 56 degrees. What's 50 knots? 57 miles an hour. All right, guys, so everybody needs to start sending letters to your local meteorologist and find out what the hell is going on. You know, here's another thing. When we're out here looking at these radars, look, we can put on the buoys. We can put on these ships. What the hell is all these ships doing in the path of this hurricane? Look at all these ships out here. What are they doing out ahead of the hurricane? Huh. You know, so now we have to wonder, you know, are we looking at fake data? You know, what's going on here? Because we're not getting the truth from the mainstream whatsoever. at all. And that's what makes this so difficult to try to figure out what the heck's going on. So let's go ahead and go to the forecast models again and just kind of see. We'll take a quick look at the GFS, see where they think it's going to go. We'll take a look at the Canadian model, and then we'll go look at the chemtrails. And then we'll tell you where it's going to go. Thanks everybody out there on the super chat too. I just brought it up where I can see here. Nice crowd out there. Much love. Thanks everybody that joins us and shares this information out here on YouTube, over in the D Live family, over at Facebook there, Above Ground World News, and Twitch. So yeah, this thing here has it clipping North Florida, riding up the coast of Georgia in its perfect circle to Georgia, and then pretty heavy rain there for South Carolina, bouncing off South Carolina and then heading off to sea. Let's go ahead and check the Canadian model. And this is going to change. This is probably going to change tremendously by tomorrow. So tomorrow morning I wake up, this thing may be out to sea already. We don't know. It depends on how good their steering mechanism is. Like we already know they missed the first target. They missed southern Florida. Now the Canadian model still has it going into southern Florida and parking. That was target A. But then when you look, most of the rain's out in the ocean. It's not hitting the land. Except for Georgia, South Carolina, up into the Carolinas, and then out to sea. So basically what we're going to have to do, let me look at the temperatures real quick. The temperatures are going to play a huge factor at pushing this out. Oh, I know, I'm on the wrong. Yeah, this will work. You know, the cool air is much heavier. Hey, no problem out there. So it's going to be, this is a battle between the dust and the cool air and the wind shear and the pressures. Wow, it's not even really showing up here. Let me put this on the GFS model. It shows up a little better as far as where the hurricane is. So that right there, it's over Bermuda. Let me back it up. So we're looking at the 2-meter air temperatures, and you can kind of see the lighter colored spin up there. So here's the really cool air. So this hopefully will push that off to sea quicker. But since this is a weather weapon and not a natural hurricane, you know, who knows? So look how far the cold air drops down here on Thursday. Well, this is all the way out to Thursday. Back that up. This is on Wednesday. Man, we got a lot of time. This thing could turn well before then, because this is a pretty cool area right here. So all we can do is hope that the cold air pushes this thing off. Hope that some of the winds, in fact, we need to go look at the winds real quick here. Let me get it back on the air. We go ahead and check the pressures real quick. Oh, now we have signatures of low pressure. You know, look at that. That's crazy. Let me get it back on now. Okay. So this is a category 4, category 5 right now. You know, by the pressures, you can see that it's pretty low pressure. But if we go back just one day when they were calling this a category 4, look, there's hardly any pressure, low pressure to this storm. They were lying. They were lying about the size, and it's a perfect circle. Go up one day, then we get the pressure. Now it's getting into the hot water. This is showing a direct hit over the Bahamas. I don't know which island that is, but it's giving it a direct hit. and then it's going to hit the really hot water and strengthen. It's going right up the coast. But like I said, I don't believe these models at all. Like, I don't know what to believe. We got all the high pressure, and we also have, coming with the cold air, this high pressure that should push it off. And that's what I was wanting to look at here. So we got that. We got to go back a little bit. Yeah, it's going to be hard to tell, man. We need another day. Look at the Wi-Fi signal coming off this hurricane. This hurricane's even bigger. That hurricane's bigger than that one. And this one isn't, you know, it's probably like a category 1 if it even turns into one. As far as I can go out. What do we got going on up here in the Aleutian Island chain? Look at that pressure. What kind of waves are coming with that? Hold on, let me look. We may have to issue a wave warning for the Aleutian Island chain. So we're looking at 36-foot waves. So there's almost like a wave weapon up here. All right. Yeah, it's hard to know, man. Usually I can forecast. Look how little and perfect circle that eyewall is. That's ridiculous, man. I mean, this stuff hacks me off because we know that they're engineering this storm. We know it's going against all odds. We can see the cloud seeding going on all across the United States, all across the planet. And if you weren't here in the beginning, let me zoom in on one of the bigger spraying operations that's going on right now where the fires are. Because this is insane. This goes to show you that, see, cirrus clouds are not real clouds. They're man-made clouds. They're man-made clouds coming from the aircraft. And I'm going to prove it to you right now. So look right here over Idaho. You can see the initial long C-130s laying the big fat liners. You can see a big X right there over Wyoming. But watch as this thing goes. Let me see if it's loaded enough to get to the... You got all these X's. These are all fake, synthetic, man-made clouds. It's going to get even worse here in a second. So it really starts picking up. And look at that. Look at these clouds. I'm going to have to zoom in on that even more just to show you how bad this is. See if this will get us close enough where you guys can really see this. Because this is just 100% proof that the aircraft are changing the skies. They are responsible for the climate change. They're responsible for the weather. I gotta wait for it to load here, because this secondary spraying operation just gets insane right here. Look at that. So there's a two-part mix going into this, and it's just going to turn into a weather system. Look at the X's. Look how fat them lines are. So we have the North American Weather Modification Association may be responsible for this one, or it could be the UN. Who knows? I'm not up there. I can't track these planes. There you go. Man-made weather, made to order. They have their hands on the thermostat. It's not any of the climate change, fake stuff, global warming, because they're the ones doing it. Anyway, guys, we're going to call this a show. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Thanks to everybody that shares this information out, man. This stuff has to get out. People need to know what's really happening with the weather. And we have all the facts. So many people, all these activists. There's tons of activists out here, but we need more. We need more people to learn what's really going on with the weather, demand answers. Send all your bills. You know, if this thing doesn't hit anywhere, send all your bills to the weather channels and the local meteorologists, making you go out and buy generators and food supplies and all that crazy stuff. Anyway, we need to rise soon. So we're going to play a song called Rise. I'll come join you in chat. I'll jump over to D Live and give away the treasure chest. Then we're going to play a song, the fight song. Then we'll play the victory song. Anyway, guys, much love. Thanks for sharing this out. Thanks to everybody that helps us. It definitely helps. Anyway, guys, much love. Here we go. Crank it up.
presentation.